We of course have some incredible memories from Liverpool last year.
We just had a really good time.
I honestly think ours was the best.
Was just the most special moment you could imagine for me.
And now let's go to my favorite moments of Eurovision 2023.
My first one, it goes without saying, has to be Queen Loreen winning her second victory, not only coming back to the contest for a second time, but earning her second victory at Eurovision. It was just absolutely incredible to watch. From the moment that she won Melodifestivalen, I just couldn't even believe that she was coming to Liverpool and coming back to Eurovision. But once we saw that first performance in the semi-final, I think it was really, really clear. Loreen is an incredible person, an incredible performer, and to see her come and do that in Liverpool on the stage in Eurovision in that M&S Bank Arena, it was just incredible to witness. I absolutely love Loreen's energy, and I just love how humble she is. So the fact that she was able to come and do this with an absolutely incredible song, Tattoo, which is such a huge global hit today, it was just incredible to see her come back and claim that Eurovision trophy for a second time.
After Loreen from Sweden wins the World Contest again for the second time in her life, she performed a winning song, okay, but after that she just sat on the stage and she was just looking the whole audience in the arena, and I don't know why, but I feel so much what she was thinking, emotion at this moment. She was so beautiful as a human to sit on that amazing and huge stage. She just performs the song that she works on during many months, many weeks, and she just sits on that stage and she say, thank you. And this thank you, this merci, I feel it so much. She didn't say anything, she didn't tell words, but you see her face, you see how proud she was about this moment, but also how thankful she was about everyone applauding her and really behind her. And I truly love this woman for sure since many years. Even before Euphoria, I really like the message and how she is as an artist. But I feel it so much at this specific moment. I really like how she look at us, but not really look at us as the TV viewers, but how she looks the audience, the humans in front of her. And she was totally with them and totally saying thank you so much for that. And that's why I really love her, because without words she could translate an emotion so intensely good. I like it, I love it. I mean, I don't just like it, I love it, yes.
The moment where Käärijä received his televote score was really special to me. I think that song is probably one of the Eurovision songs in my life that I've related to most, that I've engaged with most, that I've got most emotionally involved in. And to see the way Europe fell in love with him was really, really special. I think we're not going to see another televote phenomenon on that scale in quite some time. And we shouldn't forget that if you exclude the obvious solidarity vote with Ukraine from 2022, this was the best performing entry in the televotes in Eurovision history. So that was really, really special to me.
The highlight of every Eurovision really is the voting, which is obviously very tense for the artists and the delegations and everybody involved in the arena, and obviously very tense for fans as well. And I don't think it's always great when you enter the week of the contest, perhaps, and you have two frontrunners, because maybe it sort of dilutes the excitement of the voting just a little bit if you are very sure it's going to be one of two nations coming out on top. I think most Eurovision fans expected it to be this fairly straightforward battle between Loreen and Käärijä. In the end, obviously, they were the top two acts. The excitement for me in the Eurovision village was certainly faded, shall we say, after the jury results came in, because Loreen was so far in front. But then Käärijä won the public vote by huge margins, so there was this discussion afterwards about the difference of opinion, etc., etc. But that was obviously a great element of last year's show, the fact that we really didn't know on the day of the contest whether it was going to be Sweden winning or Finland winning. And then 2024, I mean, looking ahead to the contest in a few months' time, at this moment in time, one of about 12 different nations could win. If you believe what you read on social media, every country is in with a chance of winning. But right now, yeah, it seems as though so many different countries could come out on top, and that's very, very exciting. And one of the great elements of the show every year is the voting. It's the culmination of everybody's hard work. And although the voting can be utterly ridiculous, I'm thinking about Spain's public score last year.
5 points.
Even though the voting can be ludicrous, it is, for me, I guess, and for a lot of other people, absolutely one of the big, big highlights of Eurovision. And as long as they don't tinker with the format too much, I'll be a happy man.
When I was standing in that room for the jury show of the first semi-final, and that video at the start of the kids running around telling each other that Eurovision's coming, and then the Ukrainian refugee in the classroom, and the flags being put up everywhere, and then then it pans into the arena and they're dancing on stage. It was such an emotional moment for me. I think for a few reasons. Firstly, I'm stood there having dreamed my entire life of seeing Eurovision in my own country, and it's finally come true, and it was finally there and happening, which was indescribable and overwhelming. But that, combined with the context surrounding the contest, with, the fact that it shouldn't have been there and Ukraine was the rightful host, it made it really, really powerful and poignant. And I can't watch that clip back, because when I do, I cry every time. And it's just a really, really special thing. And I miss it dearly. I can't wait to feel that again. I think it's rare that I get so emotionally overwhelmed that I blubber into tears like that. But it was just so wonderful.
We were introduced to a boy called Josh, same name as me, so I liked him instantly. And he was going around Liverpool telling everyone that the contest was coming to the city. It just helped really build the excitement. Throughout it, we had famous celebrity faces. There was Paul Hollywood from the Great British Bake Off. There was Nikita, who is Ukrainian and is actually a dancer on Strictly Come Dancing. And then we moved into the live arena, which I was there and the arena was silent. We were told to be quiet, but still we were quiet. The music started, Electric Dreams, a great version of it. We had Josh, who was the boy who was in the introduction video, and a kind of frame, so it was like a mirror. And it was going around, well, I know, you've seen the show, but it was going around, and there was a girl who represented Ukraine, and that moment she stepped through that frame, and the lights all went up. It was really touching. I started to cry in the arena. It just hit me at that moment. It was like the UK opening its arms and welcoming Ukraine, which of course is what the entire show was about. And from that we moved into Julia, who was one of the hosts. We moved into her live performance of her song. Fantastic song. The way they showed the entire stage off during that song, showing everything that it could do, it was just a wow moment. And if I wasn't a Eurovision fan, that would capture my attention so much, and that's what you need in the opening.
The interval act during the first semi-final with the singer from Ukraine, Alyosha, and the singer from the UK, Rebecca Ferguson, when they sing a song which was a cover, a reprise of Ordinary Love by Duran Duran. I really get so emotional on that performance. That's really something that I really expect each year from the interval act, to have one of the interval act during the War Eurovision Week event, to have one interval act that really get me goosebumps and really completely shook me and makes heartbreaking in a way that I feel totally emotional when I just watch a performance, and I completely need time to be back in the show because it was so good, so intense emotionally, yes, but so good and so needed too. And this entire act this year was this one for me. I really like the story we get as a creative story, the performance on the stage, the visuals. That was everything. The visuals were fantastic for me. I really appreciate it. I like the show this beautiful story of a Ukrainian couple which suffer because of the war. The husband goes to as a soldier to the war, and the woman fly to another European country as a refugee. And this beautiful story tell a hard moment that a country which take part to Eurovision Song Contest, Ukraine, have right now. And I really love how they translate this beautiful story into the competition without making it political. You know, they really make it like a human story, and that's why it touches a lot. Personally, it touched me so much because it was really humanly heartbreaking, this performance and this story, and the choice of the two singers too was excellent, and the choice of the songs they use also was fit so much the story and this moment, and that was one of the things I prefer about Eurovision, that they take time to create this entire act, and that's why the visuals about this one was fantastic. It's so modern, it's so the best technology that we see at Eurovision, they bring into this interval act, and that's why I also love Eurovision since many years, because all the creative technologies we have on the stage, and that was fantastic. And yes, I feel really overwhelmed by emotion, and I'm still watching it again and again, and that's one of the interval acts that I will remember forever for sure. So thanks Eurovision 2023 for this one.
Rita Or's interval act in semi-final 2. Fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Rita Ora, so the fact that it was actually in the arena and I got to see her live, perfect. Loved all the songs she sang, I was singing along, and there were so many dancers on the stage, like, that was a spectacle.
Be who you wanna be, from the drag machine experience and into the act, that was fantastic. We have the three O's that they move into this drag machine and then transform into drag queens. And the three drag queens that perform, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but I absolutely love the message. Maybe it's because I'm a queer people, but I stand so much for this moment, because even more for drag queen, because in some countries it's quite hard for them to be who they want to be, you know, to be free to perform, to be free to share their art. And Eurovision was at that moment when they speak about many messages about Ukraine and UK creating a beautiful show, they were also saying, hey, we support you drag queen, we support your art, and we give you like a stage to perform and to live on and to be who you want to be. And maybe of course because drag queen is part of the UK culture of today, and I mean a lot of us are watching maybe Drag Race all over the world and from many countries like me, but also as a queer people I really stand for this kind of moment, because Eurovision are always been here for queer people, and I hope that in the future it's still gonna be like that. And this performance, when we see so many good songs free, and at the end also we got Love from Jessica Mowboy from Australia, that was fantastic, because it included the Eurovision song and many songs also that talking about freedom, about this principle of be what you want, be who you want to be, and that's so important for me in this type of dark time that we could have, it's important to celebrate again this message of love, of unity also, and I completely feel it in this entire act, and that was just a great moment. You know, I wasn't emotional actually, but I was joyful. I was dancing. I was just embracing this performance with them, even from my living room in France. I was totally with Liverpool at this moment, and yes, that's it. I truly love that, and I hope that we'll still have some queer moments in some interior act in the future. But I'm sure Eurovision stand forever for this type of message and beautiful love message in art also.
And the next thing I want to talk about is another opening sequence, but this time it's for the grand final. The way it started in Ukraine with Käärijä Orchestra playing Stefania, and it was transported to the UK, and Sam Ryder made an appearance. It was just fantastic. We had familiar faces throughout, similar to semi-final 1. We had Andrew Lloyd Webber, who of course wrote It's My Time, the last time the UK came in the top 5, so it's nice to see him back. And of course we had the Princess of Wales. If you can't tell already, I'm a huge fan of the royal family. I know a lot of people aren't, I am, so I was very excited to see her. And after that we had a live performance from Käärijä Orchestra. It's been a long time since we've had the winning song performed at the final as the opening. I know that in the past few years we've had it open semi-final 1, but I feel like just opening the grand final really puts that impact, just works really well.
Another highlight for me was the Liverpool Songbook that happened during the grand final. Now for me, I would say this year actually overall had the best set of interval acts out of any Eurovision. But of course, the best one was the Liverpool Songbook. You had so many great returning artists. You had Cornelia Jacobs, who's always a highlight. You had Daddy Freya finally getting to perform on a Eurovision stage. But of course, the main talking point from that is Duncan Lawrence singing a beautiful rendition of You'll Never Walk Alone. A song that is synonymous with Liverpool, but took a whole meaning of its own that is similar to the meaning that Scousers feel towards it, but also it links so well with the situation of Ukraine, why we were in Liverpool. And look, I'm a West Ham fan. The amount of times that myself, West Ham fans, other football fans not from Liverpool have made fun of that song is countless. All right, we have our own chants for it, which I will not repeat here because they're not the nicest. But you know, we're football fans. But that all pales in comparison when you see that performance. And Duncan Lawrence, one of my favourite Eurovision artists, performed it so well. Or you know, I don't cry at music because I'm dead inside. But if I did, I think that would have shed a tear, maybe an internal tear from me.
I do want to touch about my biggest laugh out loud moment, and that was Mel Gledroyc in the background when Hannah was presenting work in mid-show, and she was referencing the butter churners from Poland 2014. It just made me laugh out loud because obviously we, the public, adore that entry from 2014. We gave it 12 points, and I was harking back to how much we loved it. I mean, Mel's the kind of person you would least expect to do that kind of shenanigans. So for her to just express herself in that sort of way was just so hilarious. As soon as I saw it, I just bursted out laughing. I couldn't help it.
My second thing that I absolutely loved about this contest was the hosts. I've grown up watching UK reality shows with a lot of the hosts that we had from last year's Eurovision, the likes of Alicia Dixon, and chat shows with Graham Norton. Graham Norton, of course, has commentated for the BBC for Eurovision for years. And they were, of course, joined by Hannah Waddingham and Ukraine's Julia Sanina. And oh my goodness, in my opinion, they were some of the best hosts that I've ever seen at Eurovision. To think that I've watched these TV personalities all throughout my childhood, and at the same time loving Eurovision, and then seeing that kind of like childhood dream that I never knew I needed come true, and seeing them all at the same time host Eurovision, it was just incredible to see. And especially Graham Norton, he has been in the commentary booth for the BBC for years and years and years, and I don't think he thought that he would ever be hosting the Eurovision Song Contest, let alone the Eurovision being back in the United Kingdom. Seeing them live that passion and live that dream on that Eurovision stage is something that not only they're going to be able to cherish for the rest of their lives, but something that I'm certainly going to cherish for the rest of my life as well. My mum is a huge fan of Graham Norton, and I was lucky enough to be able to take her and my sister with me to Liverpool last year for one of the jury finals. To be able to share that, and to be able to not only watch all of the incredible participants last year, but those hosts that we've all idolised and we've watched on TV for years, it was just a surreal experience. And it's something that I will cherish for many, many Eurovisions to come and for the rest of my life for sure.
On to the actual acts themselves taking part in 2023. I would say 2023 arguably has the best set of stagings that this contest has seen from a consistency level. Yes, Romania sucked. Their staging was awful. And you had a couple mess stagings throughout the semi-finals and a couple in the final. But overall, the staging quality was so good. Standouts for me, you've got obviously Finland with the giant Käärijä in the back, and all the stuff that we loved about the UMK performance, the caterpillar, you have the bright colours, the dance, all fantastic. And look, it was a mellowed version down, mellow pun intended, but Loreen's staging of course was still fantastic with the visuals. And then a couple other niche ones. I Don't Care, and only got 5 points. Spain's staging from Benidorm Fest translating on made me like the song, all right? It's a fantastic wow staging that makes you forget, you know, your feelings towards the song because the staging's so damn good. And then one that people maybe aren't talking about as much because it wasn't a top 10. But my word, I loved Armenia's staging. The slight slant. I like the dance break. I think it worked. The color palette, it was so visually stimulating, and I love the song as well. So I was really happy to see, it qualified from slot 2. That deaf slot. Maybe that's another highlight for me. Armenia qualifying from the deaf slot was such a damn good song. And yeah, I thought that staging was one of my favorites of the entire show. Again, just the color palette, so stimulating, so enjoyable, and really creative as well. Not something we've really seen much of at Eurovision.
The 2023 crowd at the Eurovision Song Contest in all of the shows, the semi-finals and the grand final, was the best I've ever heard. It was the loudest. The crowd just made the Eurovision Song Contest that million times better in terms of how they interacted with different things, always cheering for things and obviously waving the flags and having the phones out, no matter who was performing. Definitely the best moment coming from the crowd was when May Muller performed. The amount of noise levels that lasted for, I think, 3 decades, it felt like. Even when the presenters were trying to get the voting across again and you were seeing the graphics coming up, they were still roaring, they were still cheering in a almost constant level. And I've never seen a Eurovision Song Contest crowd like it since, in terms of the modern crowd that we have throughout the 2000s, throughout the 2010s. No crowd ever has been this loud and amazing and so passionate and so full of it.
And last but not least, my final thing that I absolutely loved about last year's contest was the way that Liverpool embraced Eurovision. I come from a small village in North Wales, which isn't that far from Liverpool, only about a half-an-hour train ride. And so it was incredible enough to find out that Liverpool was going to be the host of the Eurovision Song Contest. I couldn't believe it. It took me so many weeks and months to digest, but when we all got to Liverpool, it was just a dream come true. There are some other places that Eurovision has been held that you wouldn't necessarily have known that Eurovision was happening. However, not in Liverpool. Anywhere that you went in the city during Eurovision week and the lead up to the contest, Eurovision embraced it. The cafes, the bars, the restaurants, all of the entertainment venues in the city were just embracing that mood and embracing the feeling. And I really think that the Eurovision bubble wasn't just in the arena or in the Eurovision village, it was in the whole city. And I think because of that, it was just so much more incredible. Being in Liverpool last year and just sharing that atmosphere with so many of my friends, my family, it was just something that I will cherish forever. And I think a lot of people will agree with me. The way that the city of Liverpool embraced this opportunity, along with the British broadcaster BBC, to bring not only Eurovision to the UK, but I think a Eurovision that is going to pave the way for future Eurovisions as well, to kind of show and lead as an example, is just sensational to me. And I mean, hopefully, I would love to see the United Kingdom host Eurovision again. Hopefully it happens. But if it doesn't happen in the near future, I am just so proud of my country and Liverpool for doing us proud and bringing one of the most incredible Eurovision Song Contests that there ever has been.
What was perhaps the greatest element of it for me on a personal note was the fact that I was able to be there in the city where it was happening, in Liverpool on the day of the final. I was in the Eurovision village for most of the day, on the pier head in Liverpool with my good friend Peter, and we just had a really good time. And I was very apprehensive about being away from home, funnily enough, for the day of the final, because usually I just watch Eurovision from the comfort of my own room. But the fact it was being staged in my country, obviously I wanted to be in the arena watching it live with my friend, but the Eurovision village was the next best thing. I didn't really know how I was going to feel about being surrounded by so many different people, and the atmosphere, and the loud nature of it all, and all of that sort of stuff. But in the end, I had a really great time. My friend, who's not a big Eurovision fan by any stretch of the imagination, he had a pretty good time as well. It was really interesting to just feel how everybody else was feeling. You could hear the gasps from the crowd when Austria and Spain in particular received really low marks from the public. Obviously, when you're in the comfort of your own home, you don't really feel that atmosphere. So that was a nice thing for me last year, just being sort of in the thick of the action and really being able to gauge the response by other Eurovision fans to all of the performances and indeed the voting. Certainly if the UK wants to host again in the future, obviously I would try and get tickets to be in the arena, but the Eurovision Village is the next best thing, and I would be open to doing that again with a friend in the future.
One of the main standouts for me going to Liverpool for Eurovision 2023 was the Eurovision Village. Throughout the week, it was filled with so many up-and-coming artists from the area, and also some Eurovision legends. Jamala come to mind. At one point, I wouldn't call them a legend, but Jedward were there. They're everywhere, Jedward. Of course they are. And yeah, it was a lovely location, just situated right next to the docks as well. The whole area of Eurovision was actually very easy to get around, which is one of the joys of it. It was sort of like our own unique Eurovision world, that pier where it was, on the same bed of street, you would say. There was the village and there was the arena. Very easy to get to, which was one of the benefits. But for me, the village, it was a big area of land that situated so many people. Great vending machines. I remember having some great food there. Shout out to the people that provided drinks for asking for ID for me, making me still feel young. I took that as a compliment, I really did. But of course, the main highlight is going to be watching from the village the grand final with some great friends of mine that some of you might know. If you know Roy, Sean from ESC United, if you know Connor and Louise from Eurovision, and then just some other people that people will know. Just great vibes. The place erupted when Käärijä performed, and yeah, it was so much fun. Just a great experience in the village, I would say, throughout the whole week.
Although Eurovision can have this bit of a bad reputation here in the UK, particularly amongst the press, last year it felt as though everybody was really just embracing this wonderful thing. And I hope moving forwards, even if the UK's results aren't too great again over the next few years, I hope that the momentum and the good feeling that there was after Liverpool staged in 2023. I hope that continues. I hope that there are long-lasting effects from the BBC, from fans, and I hope the attitude really stays quite positive towards Eurovision as we move through the rest of this decade and beyond. Certainly, I'd love to see it.
It's difficult for me to choose only few best moments, because I think what makes Eurovision Song Contest really, what makes it really working, it's a lot of small details and small elements that makes the whole thing, the whole event, really like mind-blowing, and something that's really gonna stuck in your head for many years and many decades and maybe forever.
And I think, if anything, last year's event showed us that if there was to be some circumstance in the future in which a winning nation wasn't able to host the following year's event, somebody, not necessarily the BBC, could step in and do a perfectly fine job, and Eurovision would just be as wonderful as it almost always is, you know?
I hope next time we host, we do it because we win, rather than under the same unfortunate circumstances. Those circumstances created a really emotional, a beautiful collaboration, beautiful addition between Ukraine and the UK, and I think it brought Ukraine and the UK closer together as countries as well. But really, you want to win and host because you won, and that's the thing I'd love to see for the UK in future.